Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen right now. As you can see my screen.
Yes, Vikas, it is visible.
Okay, so from tomorrow, actually, one more person will be joining. Otherwise, so it will be good to have like 2 people. So we are not feeling bored. So now, like, I shared you the document, right? So today I will just preparing that system and share to you like the system detail also. Okay, for your practice, and then you can utilize it for practice purpose.
The remote access?
Yeah. Or I already not given to you right now.
No.
Okay, I will share with you today. Okay.
Okay.
So what we really discussed, like we discussed about like in the security, what is the different type of the security is there, why we have to use the security, and like what is the purpose of the security and authorization. So as the name is security and authorization. So the idea about like it is a technical module which is allowed to provide the access where it's required and where it's not required. So our act is like a balancing act. So we will be providing access where user needs it or what user needs it, and where the user doesn't need that access or not required to provide that extra access, we are protecting that also. So our act is something called a balancing act. Okay, and the idea for making the balance is like the person from the outside or inside, they are not able to do the things, or they are not able to see the data, which is they are not allowed to, and they can only see the data, or they can have the access what he is allowed to according to his responsibility, right?
Okay.
So that is the meaning of like SAP security and authorization. And in this, like we will be having the access according to his responsibility. At the same time, they should not have access for any important data, confidential data, or confidential information. So that is the main fundamental, like you can say, activity from security side. So we give the access, but only the limited access, or the access which is required by him according to his job. And then we are seeing like in SAP ECC, like we have the different module. For example, sales, finance, HR, manufacturing, logistic, many other modules as well. So in ERP, in each of the module, there are different jobs are there for each of the department, you can say, or each of the module, you can say. Like in the sales, maybe sales clerk, sales manager, and sales head will be there. In finance also, finance manager, finance head, and any other people are there who is working in the finance department. Similarly, like in each of the department, different type of peoples will be there. Their responsibility is different, right? So what is our responsibility as a security consultant, that we will be using and understand initially like what is the different type of job responsibilities is there in each of the modules, and then according to that we will be creating a role. Providing access based on their responsibility. Suppose the sales manager is there, his responsibility is to create sales order, his responsibility is to view the sales order. So we create a roles as a sales manager, and then we provide the transaction here like whenever we want to do anything, we are providing the access with the transaction. So we provide the access for the transaction to the user. Okay, so that way we are providing the access to the user in each of the module. So that is the idea here. And for each of the module, there are different transactions are there. For sales, the transactions start with V. For finance, it is mostly started with F, and for HR it is for P. Okay, so like that, the distinguish given by the SAP for different module, different transaction. And then like the security ensure, as security and authorization ensure that SAP system and application works in sync without any security breaches. And objective is for us like confidentiality, we have to maintain integrity should be there, and availability should also be there. That is our objective. And then we talk about little bit about like the security. Security, like the security is the doorway for SAP system. So without security, nobody, or without our team, nobody is able to access the SAP system, right? Because until we create an ID for them, they are not able to log into SAP system, or if we not provide any access to the user, they are not able to do any activity in the system. Correct? Okay. Then we talk about something related to the assign user right to perform job or roles, right? Security is way to protect the protecting information from unauthorized use. Security can unlock the flexibility of the system and customize it for each user. So like we will be providing, or we will be creating roles according to the responsibilities. So for finance manager it is different responsibilities and different access we have to provide. For sales manager we are providing different access. So we can change for each of the positions, right? And for any organization it is important that like the information is a most valuable asset for any organization, right? Because if somebody leaks any information related to the sales, related to the profit, related to the their formula, right? So all is important for all the organization. So they want to protect this, and that's what we are the responsible person for protecting their valuable information, and that's what security is really important. Okay, we feel it is easy, maybe yes, some extent it is correct only, but it is really critical for any of the organization. Okay. Then we talk about what is the purpose of the security, how we can control. So whenever any action or anything we will be doing in ECC, we'll be running the transaction, for example ME54, and for approve purchase requisition, if you want to approve any purchase requisition, we have to mention ME54. And similarly, if you want to view any employee social security number or bank account number or any detail, we have to go for PA20 transaction. Okay.
So because all these codes have been already given by the SAP only.
Correct.
But in different organizations, like these will be different. Roles of the individuals will be different.
Correct.
So these will already be the codes will already be given to them.
No. So this T code is already existing, right? And when suppose one person is coming as a security consultant, right? So he need SU01 to create any ID or to modify any ID. So what we do in initial way, like we create one role as a security role and then add that transaction in that role. So tomorrow suppose your colleague join as a security consultant, so you assign that role to him, then he also get the access for SU01. Okay, so that is the idea. So like for each of the, it may possible like for some organization maybe M54 and some other transaction related to the purchase department or module will be having like a 4 transactions as an example I'm saying, right? In another organization maybe the same type of position will have 8 transactions, right? Or in some organization maybe 2 transactions. So it depends like how they are operating and what is their functionalities there.
So all those transactions will already be created by SAP.
Yes. It is pre-delivered. So all the standard transaction is pre-delivered. Okay. But like like if suppose any purchase requisition has been created, so everybody, like any organization, either it is implemented by Tata Motor or whether it is by Maruti or any other organization, they have to use the same transaction for creating any purchase requisition. Okay, but maybe for the Tata Motor the plant number will be different, right? And for the Maruti the plant number will be different. Okay. So that will be different. So like it is something similar to your one framework is given. Okay, then it is your business. According to the business, you will make some basic changes in that. So it is ready to use. Okay, so something similar to, like if you purchase any like ready-made soup, so it is pre-delivered. Somebody want to add some salt from outside or some chili, then they can add, right? But anybody who want to use, they will be having the same thing.
Okay.
Similar to that also, like everybody, SAP, like it's a software. So the advantage is like if you create any purchase requisition, so information goes to the person for creating a purchase order using purchase requisition. Okay. So that flow is happening automatically. Okay. So like, and then if you are purchasing something, the information flows to your finance table also. Whenever you are raising a purchase order. Okay. So that is the advantage here. So everything will be flowing automatically, and SAP given one structure, like they doesn't have any plant. Okay, once you have, they don't have any plant, they doesn't have any company code. So according to the business, like what functional consultant really do, they will go to the client place and they will understand like how many plants they have, in which location they have. Suppose Reliance is there, they have 2 plants, maybe in the Mumbai and maybe in the Gujarat somewhere, right? So they will create in the system 2 plants in SAP system. So like if any purchase order will be created for Mumbai, they will select Mumbai, and whenever any purchase order created for like a Gujarat plant, they will use the Gujarat plant. Okay, so that only they will do. But if they want to create any purchase requisition, they will always use ME54N. Similarly, any other person or any other client, if they want to create a purchase order or purchase requisition, they will use this transaction.
So these are standard transactions.
These are standard transactions. Okay. Using this, like you can make some changes in your like a master data, we call in SAP terms, like this, like whatever the plant number, client is there, or company code is there, or sales organization number is there. Okay. And like similar to like the GL account number is there. So all is a kind of like your custom thing that is not defined by SAP. That will be defined according to the organization business. Okay. So that is the idea. Okay. Then we have something important, really very important, like development, quality and production system. So whenever we want to design anything, we'll be going into that system and designing anything. For example, if we are creating any role, so first we'll be creating a role in the development system. Like for example, like sales manager role is there. So first we create a role as a sales manager, add some transaction in it. Then it's not that we added and created a role. It is working according to the business. Maybe yes, maybe no also, right? So that has to be tested here in quality. So the person like who is working as a sales manager in the organization, they comes into the system, they are testing whatever they do in the non-SAP system, whether it is able to work in that role with that system or no. Maybe they realize, okay, they forget to add a new transaction, one more extra transaction in the role. So they will complain, they will raise a like a defect, you can say. And then we have to work on this defect, and then what we have to do, we have to again add the new transaction in the role and move back here. And once they feel that, okay, whatever they are doing in non-SAP system, all the activity as a sales manager, everything they will do with the help of SAP in the system. That is, the role is passed, and once the role is passed, it will move to the production system for actual user to use it. Okay.
Yeah.
So that three system is happening, and that system we call as a landscape in SAP terms. So it
What
applies.
does this mean? Sorry. Huh?
Yeah, it applies for not only the security object, it applies for all the object. Even the programmer, if suppose they create a program for some reports, it has to give the report for all the quarterly sales, for example. So that is a report, some calculation will be doing. So whether it is calculating correct thing, not calculating correct thing, so that will be checked here. The programmer will write some program here, development system. They will move.
So this is
to
the
quality.
basic rule which SAP follows, right?
Yes. Everybody has to follow that.
Because what does that last line mean? Like to move the objects from one system to another system, we have to use the transport.
So that is same thing. Like if suppose your house is there. If you want to move your goods from one house to another house, you will be using the trucks, right? So that is the same thing. If you want to, the object will be created here, but if you not move here, it is not available here. So to moving that from here to here, we use the transport. Transporting
What
the
does
object.
transport refer to here? Like,
Transport is normal transport. You will be using like a transport for moving from one place to another place, right? So the same way, the object is also moved from here to here using transport request. Here also we have some term is like a transport request. Okay, we'll see that how we can move it. Okay, don't worry. So what we are doing, once we are creating a role, we are moving the role to from development to quality using the transport request. Okay. And then we come to the user administration. So let's see that user administration, and then this is like a practical thing. So we skip this slide for the moment, like this slide. For now, we'll come back a little later, and then we come to like user creation and the type of users. So first see that how we can create a user. Okay. So to create a user, like we have to use, we'll come to this also, we'll skip for the moment. So like how we are creating a user, or if you want to make a change in the user, we'll be using the transaction SC01. Okay, so this is a transaction for creating a new user. So let's see that. So to log into SAP system, you have to go to SAP login. Okay, and then like the system will be something similar to like that, development for example. So the user ID and password we have to give as an administrator. So like we log in this system as a security administrator, and suppose a new user join in our organization. So to create his ID, what we have to do, we have to go for SC01 transaction. We keep here. Either you can press enter, or either you can click here. Also both is okay. So if you click here, it will be opening this screen, and in this screen, like we have the user. So what is the purpose of this user? Like we keep here the user ID. So just an example, like the naming will be defined here. Suppose based on your first name, last name, we can add something here, or we create any name and then click on create. So the naming convention will be the same. So then maybe Durga is your first name, I'm just keeping here, and your last name.
Then
spelling is okay.
BA.
BA. Correct, no? Okay. So like we can give your first name, last name, and what is your title is there, like Mr. Mrs. or anyone for the user, and then maybe the language we can select like English language. So if your function is there, maybe like your function is like a sales manager or any other function that we can keep here, in which department you are working, for example sales. Then if you know your room number, building number also, then you can keep here, not mandatory thing. Maybe the phone number, if you have the phone number, you can add your phone number or mobile number. Okay, the fax number also we can add, and then the email ID also we can add. Okay, so I just add mine for the moment, but in reality it will be email ID. Okay, so we maintain the email ID for the user, and then we have the communication method. So what is the best communication way to reach out this person if it is required? So here is the option for us, like if we keep here the email, that is the preferred method to contact the user is email. Okay, so we can select, it is still not mandatory thing, but you can use it. And
So because is there any mandatory field that we have to select? Like
yeah, here that is like your last name is a mandatory field. So if you use this, if you remove it, like you can see one square box and check box is there. So that is the mandatory field. If you try to save, it will not allow you to save because of this mandatory field.
even the first name is not mandatory.
First name is not mandatory. Okay, so if you remove this and then try to create, you are able to create the user. Okay, so then once you fill all this detail, then you have to go for logon data, and then in the logon data you have the password and repeat password, so that we can keep here the password and repeat password again, and we have to save it. So just give here, so I'm just giving some password like welcome 123W capital, and once you save it, for example this is the save button here on the outside. Once you save, the ID will be saved here. Okay, so this user is created. You can see the message at the bottom. It will give you, if any error is there, it will give you the error, or if any change is there, it will give you the information. So this IDs gets created, and then if you want to change it, so this is for create and this is for the change. So if you click here on change, then see here last name on the first name is not there, right? So you can add the first name, and then you can save it again, so the user gets created or modified, right? So if all user is already existing, then you can modify the existing user. If user is already existing and you try to create system and show the message, user already exists. Okay, and then you only can change it or you can display the user. So this last button is for displaying the user, this one. So if you feel like what is the purpose of these buttons, so if you keep your cursor on this button, then tip will be coming, like this is for deletion, this is for the copying any user, this is for locking any user, lock or unlock, and this is for changing the password for the user. Okay, so now what we have done, we have created a user. So if suppose user want to log in, so what we do, we write a mail in that system, so like something your ID created in like the system name dev system. Okay, and your password is something. So something like that we will be sharing with the user. Okay, so once he receives the password and ID, so what he will do, he will go to the same in his system. He will see that he is also having that system detail. Once he click here, he will keep his ID and give the password which is given by us. So once he log in, he will be asked for changing his password at the first time. Okay. So he has to change his password. I'm just keeping welcome 1 2 3 4.
So the same password can also be kept, no?
No, same password cannot be kept.
Okay.
That is mandatory. Okay. So now he is able to log in with his own password. Okay. And then he can log in. Right. So that is the idea, like how to log into the system. And once he want to do anything, like he has to run the transaction, if he has authorization, then he can use it. If he is not authorized, he is not able to, system will throw the message, you are not authorized to use the transaction, BF01.
Okay.
Okay, so right now we have not assigned any access to him. It is just the ID, he just log in, but he can't do anything. Okay. But the first step is to create ID. Without ID, he is not able to log in into the SAP system. Okay, so till this point, any question?
No, Vikas.
So user creation, if I ask you this assignment, you can able to do this, right?
Correct.
Okay, good. Okay, so then in SU01, okay, I'm just closing this Rudra ID for the moment now, and we have come to our own as a security consultant ID where we have created your ID. So in that, like, you have the option for many tabs are there, like logon data, SNC data, default, parameter, role, profile, group, personalization, license data. So each of them having the specific purpose. Okay. And we are going to see for each of the tabs what is the purpose. Okay. So we have seen so far like address tab, and then we are going to see the logon tab. So in the logon tab, especially we have seen right now like the password thing, but also there are many other tabs, many other fields are there. So we'll see that other tabs also, other fields also. So valid from, valid through. So this two field is especially like if you want to restrict the user for a specified period of access, then you can keep here. For example, if you feel like somebody joins as a contractor, right, and his validity will be maybe like for 1 year or 2 years or whatever the time you can feel, right? So you can set the timing here.
So this can be customized. This is not a mandatory field. Right?
Yeah, that is not a mandatory field. If you not give any field, any value, then he is unlimited access. So no expiry will be happening. But if we keep that date here, so this user ID will be valid from this date to this date. After this date, he is not able to log into SAP system. System will stop him. Okay. So this is the one. Then we have something called like account number and cost center also. So in SAP, whenever any ID we are creating in the SAP system, SAP is charging some license fees from the client. Okay, because we are using SAP software. Okay, so this license fees will be charged to the client, and if suppose you assume this user we are creating for sales department, right? So the client says, okay, sales department has to bear the cost, assume. Okay, so sales department will keep their account number and then cost center from where the money has to be go. So that will be maintained here. So this information will be shared to the security team by the client, and then we have to maintain accordingly. This is again not a mandatory fee. If your client says no, each department has to make the payment, so they will do like direct payment, maybe from their own central cost center and account number. Okay. So that is the idea. User group will come little later, and then one of the important thing we have, like, which is user type. So SAP have provided different type of user types also. So like we have the user type like a dialog, we have the system, user type communication, user type reference, and services. So these many different type of user types we have. So the meaning of the dialog is like the user who is able to log in SAP system is called dialog user. Okay. So and it belongs to one user, the live user or physical user. So that user we call as a dialog user. For example, Rudra is there, so it is a live person. Okay. And then like if suppose you want to create any generic ID for the testing purpose, so that we call as a service ID. So this service ID is also a kind of ID which is like able to log into SAP system using by giving the user ID and password. Okay. So these two ID is a type of like ID by which we are able to log in. So if suppose you want to create, I'm just creating like a service as an ID. So or it is already exist. So I just use SCR for example to mention as a service ID. So we are just keeping here the ID as a service ID, so it doesn't have any phone number because it's not belong to any user. It is something like a generic ID. Okay. So for generic ID doesn't have any name as such, no last name, first name, but since it is mandatory, we keep last name as the same name. Language maybe you can maintain English, that is okay. But it is, and this is not a Mr. Mrs. something, right? Title is not there, and academic title is not there. Functioning is also, maybe if you want to, you can mention like a sales department, if it is only for the sales department. But otherwise, there is no telephone number, mobile number for this ID because it's not a physical ID, right? So this fields may be blank only. Okay. And coming to the logon tab, here since it is not a named ID, so instead of dialog we can use the service ID.
So what does this service ID actually does? Like
yeah, I will tell you 1 second. Okay, let's give some password. So the purpose of this service ID, first thing, like if you observe here in service ID in the logon tab, the password is productive password, right? So the idea here, whenever we are creating any service ID, this service ID password, whatever you set the password, that will become the productive password. So for this ID, if he is going to log in to the same system, so system is not asking us to change the password for the service ID. So if you keep here welcome 123, that message is not coming, which is coming for previous users, right?
okay.
Understood that first difference?
Yes.
Okay, then the second difference, let's see also. So we just log in with your ID also first, and just observe this difference. Suppose you are logging with your ID, you are able to log in, and suppose any other person, suppose he steal your password, okay, and he is trying to log in with your ID, okay, or somebody already steal and logged in with your ID, and then you are trying to log in with your ID in your system, okay. So system will throw this message: user Rudra is already logged in the client 800. Note that multiple logon and production system is not possible, so you can continue this logon and end any other logon system. Okay, so if you use this, other logon will be removed. Okay, they will close that other session, other user session. Okay, if you use this, that means both will be continued, and if you do this terminate this logon, because if you suppose by mistake you log in by yourself 2 times, then maybe you can use that terminate this session, right? But if you feel somebody else logged in, then you can use this option, then other person's ID will be closed. So other person ID is closed, and your ID will be opened here. So this message is not coming for service ID. So like the service ID already logged in, right? If you click here, you can see the service ID is already there. If you click here in this place, you can see this information. Okay. So, and then we again try to log in with the service ID. So let's see that. So he is also able to log in. System is now tasked that or send the message that you already logged in into the system, right? So these two observation you observed, two important observation.
Yes, yes.
Okay. First thing, the password is productive password for service ID. Second thing, multiple user can log in at a time, right? So these two is the major difference compared to your dialog ID. Okay. Okay. So what is the purpose of this service ID? Why we have to create this service ID? So most of the time the service ID will be created into the quality system. Okay, most of the time. And the purpose of, or maybe in the development system also, for unit testing maybe. And the main purpose of creating this ID here in this system is to do or provide the access for this ID for the testing purpose. Okay. So like multiple people can log in at a time and they can do the integration testing. For example, if the functionality is working, they are able to create sales order, they are able to create purchase order, they are able to see all the plans, right? So all this thing they want to do it. So instead of creating individual ID, we create a generic ID as a service ID and provide the service ID related access. And then the people who want to do the testing, they can use the same ID and provide the undo the testing. Okay.
So the idea is like before creating a ID like Rudra, we can create a user ID, a service ID, and we can try for like we are being able to approve the sales order or purchase order or not, and then creating a
Correct. So this Rudra ID is especially like in the production system. So like suppose Rudra joined as a sales manager. So testing and everything will be done by some other person. And suppose you joined in the organization, so that role will be assigned to you. So that once you are trying to create a sales order, you can see the sales location or your plant, like a Gujarat plant and Reliance plant or Mumbai plant, right? So since it is tested, that's what it is visible. It is very possible if it is not tested, maybe they forget to create a Mumbai plant, for example, right? So then maybe in the production you can see only one plant. So that means it is not correct, right? So if you want to create a sales order for other plant, you are not able to create because somebody is not tested properly, correct? So that is the idea for that.
okay.
Okay, any other question?
No, sir.
Okay, good. So these two ID, now you got the idea, right? Now we come back to the previous line. So you understood the dialog ID, and then we understand about the service ID, right? So dialog ID is available to the largest. So this is also a dialog ID for the larger enormous group of users. Okay. Can log in using GUI. Password is never expired. Only administrator can change the password. Okay, user cannot change their password for service ID, right? But here, regular SAP user precisely for one person, dialog ID only for one person, can log into SAP system, log SAP GUI. System checks for expiry or initial password. So initially, whenever we keep the password, it will be the initial password, right? And user can change his or her own password for your own ID. Okay.
So because the system you are using, that is only SAP this one GUI.
Yeah. So whatever we are using this now, using this logon pad is from here, for example. So this is SAP logon pad. Okay. So if we are clicking on any system and login, that is like GUI logon.
Okay.
So GUI means graphical user interface. So it is say like a user interface kind of thing for us, right? So it is visible, like it is not like a C++ command where nothing is visible and then it is like a plain thing, right? So that is the idea for these two type of user, okay, dialog and dialog and service ID. Then we have one more type of ID which is like a system ID and communication ID. So see, the system ID is the ID which is nobody able to log in directly with this ID. Okay. So like if you go here and if you create any system ID and try to log in SAP GUI, we are not allowed to log in with that. Okay. So this system ID as the name also you can understand, like it is a system ID. So the idea for the system ID to do the system related work. Okay. So the system related work means if suppose you want to schedule any program, right? So every day, like you want to see that if any users got deleted or if any role is removed, so you want to clear off that all the things, right? Or if you say that like some of the extra space is there, some garbage is there, you want to clean that garbage, right? So those things, like you schedule the program and then every night the system will remove that temporary file, for example, from the system, from the server, right? So that will be done by the system user. Or in case, suppose if you want to send the leave approval, like if any user is raising a leave request in SAP system, right? It will be going for his manager for approval. So this workflow will be happening with the his request will be taken care from the system ID from one person to another person for approval, right? So that will be done by the system ID in SAP. Okay, so system related work, like moving the information from one place to another place, doing a recurring activity, okay, in the night. So those kind of job can be done by the system ID. Because why it is not done by the dialog ID? The idea here is, first idea is like the user can be leaving, like the dialog ID will be changing the job once they get the better salary, correct? And if suppose you schedule the program with that ID, then program works, there is no problem with. But if the user left, so you have to lock his ID, right? So if you lock the ID, the program which is scheduled has been also locked, right?
Okay.
But if you have the system ID, even your salary increase, decrease doesn't matter for him. He is not going to leave the organization, right?
Okay.
Correct, na?
So system here, the system works like a general specific works which need to be done like on daily basis or scheduled times. Like.
Correct. That is also be done by the system ID. Okay, and that's the reason we have to create a system ID. So let's see that also, like how we can create a system ID. So this is mandatory field, system ID. That also like doesn't have any name, function, anything. Languages also doesn't matter because nobody is login. And then here you have to go to the logon tab. Here you have to select the system if you want to create any system ID. And then here you have to give the password. I am giving welcome 123. And you can save it. So this ID gets created now, and then like we can use this ID. Suppose now if you want to log in with this ID, okay, so you go here and give the password. So nothing happened. Log on with the dialog ID. That is not a dialog ID, right? So the idea is like we are not able to log in. So if we are not able to log in, that we call as a non-dialog user, non-interactive user, non-dialog user we call. Okay. So only administrator can change the password, and the purpose is to like do some system related activity. So maybe you can try to show you. Practically it's a little difficult. Suppose you want to schedule any job, right? So instead of this best ID, you can schedule with the system ID. So once you schedule with the system ID, since it is not going to leave the organization, so it will be keep running, right? So that is the idea here. So any job name we are keeping here. So here we are just keeping that system ID. So we are scheduling any program. Okay. So which program? Let's schedule anything. So like this is being scheduled now, okay? By this ID. Okay? So that is the idea. So this is how we can use the system ID to schedule any program. Okay? So it will keep running. If you want to make some timing and the other stuff, that we can also make the changes. Okay?
So because mostly the user means dialog user is only created, correct? Mostly.
Yeah, most of the time like dialog ID will be created, so these other ID will be created less only. The system ID very few, like 3-4 ID will be there in the system. So 90% of the time or 90% of the ID that we are creating is a dialog ID.
Okay.
Because they are only the user who is doing the job. But for system jobs like 4-5 ID, you can say it is a kind of system ID. Okay, so now this is understood, right? Dialog, system and service.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then we have one more type of ID that we call as a communication ID. So the idea for this communication ID to connect two system with each other, communication, right? That is like a communication ID we are creating. So this is again like a non-dialog ID. GUI login is not possible with ID, and only advantage here is for this ID is like we can use this ID to connect between two systems. So here if you say like we have two system here, like you take example for this system and this system if you want to connect, right? So that this will be connected using the RFC connection. So like here in this system right now, one second, let me go here. Okay, so like what we are trying to do, we are trying to connect this system with another system. Like, let me close other. Okay, so now what we are trying to do, we are trying to connect these two systems with each other. Okay, so the reason is like suppose you want to move anything from here to here, the communication is required, right? The connection is required. So to make the connection from this system to this system, like what we are going to do, we are going to define first of all like connection here. So to define a connection like RFC connection, we have to create, and then select the web connection, click on create, give name, dev to QA quality system, any name we can keep, any description we can keep here, and then here we have to give the IP address of the quality system. Okay, so the IP address is nothing but like address where we want to reach. So like SAP HANA, HANA is there, so copy that SAP HANA, and then instance number 07. So here the instance number is also there like a 07. So system knows that where he want to communicate. So this is the address of the system, right?
Okay. This address will be for the from that to this one, na? To which we are going to connect.
Correct. From this system, from this source system, we want to connect to this target system, right? So the target address we have given. Okay. So if we give that target system the ID and the instance number, it will be picking your IP address, and then like from this system you want to log into that quality system. Okay, so like here the English is a language. What is the client for this quality? So the client is, if you click here in this QA, you can see the client is 800. Okay, so client we also keep here 800, and then the user ID. So this user ID we have to create inside this system. Okay, so we log into this ID, this system, sorry, and then we log into this ID, and then go to SU01, and here we are creating one ID, that is RFC ID, and any name we can create. but this the type of ID is, instead of dialog system, it will be communication ID. Okay, and we are giving some password here. Welcome 1, 2, 3, and then you keep here RFC ID here in this place, and if you get the password, welcome 1, 2, 3. So it is saved. So what is happening, suppose if you want to, now the connection has been established. So if you want to test the connection, you can click on connection test, and if everything is green, that the system is able to log in from development system to the quality system. So that's what it is giving you, no error. Okay, otherwise it will give you the error. Okay, so this is how it will be showing you the connection. Similarly, you can test the authorization test also. So no RFC module is assigned to this ID. Okay, so here it is, the message is coming. So the idea here is, so this ID doesn't have any access, so that's the reason it is giving you authorization error. So means user is able to log in, means we are able to log into this ID, but this ID doesn't have any access. So I have given this access. Now if you want to test it again, so that means you are able to log into that system. Okay, so how you know that user means from this system we are able to connect with other system and able to log in. So if suppose this ID, if you lock, just lock this ID. Okay, so that means from development system is trying to reach to quality system because the address is given, but once they are trying to log in with this ID, they are not they should not able to log in to the system because of this ID is locked. So if you test again the authorization test, you can see the user is locked, right? Is why this, it is giving for the same user, this is locked, right? Because in RFC you maintain the same ID. Correct, na? Here, that's what it is showing you locked. But if you unlock it, because you are unlocking here, but your development system is now not giving you message, right? For quality system, correct, na? Now it is not giving you error. If once we unlock it in quality, development system is giving you message that is the ID is not locked, right? That means one communication is happening between these two systems, correct, na? So that is the idea for communication ID. Okay.
Yeah.
So any question till this point for any of the type of ID? Because in the interview they will be going to ask you these questions, the difference especially.
Okay. Once I try my hand on this, then only questions will arise.
Yeah, that is fine. That is absolutely correct. But right now, for understanding purpose, means you understood like what is the purpose, right?
Yes.
So that is important right now. So I'm just stopping here. I thought it is for 1.5 hour class, but I want to stop here. Okay. And tomorrow we'll be having one more class at the same time to have some more new thing, and I will be sharing you that system detail in some time. Okay. So and how to log in, that also I will tell you again, so that you will be familiar.